a source.cpp, not a class.
So we don't need it.
A new project, right, and then just add a source.cpp, boilerplate. One thing you can do is if you find that all your files in the same project are including the same header files, you can just put all those #includes in one header file and then just include that. That gets useful if you have a list of 10 or 15 includes.
You said Java is still your favorite language, even though how simple Python is.
Oh, I love Python and Java, and I love C++'s operator overloading. Alright, so basically what we wanted to do is we're going to loop providing a menu. And the menu are going to be things like 1, list inventory, 2, add to inventory, 3, save to disk, 4, load from disk, then maybe we'll implement a remove from inventory as well. And it'd also be cool to offer a 6, modify that line item, modify inventory. So we're going to just loop offering that menu. That's going to be our menu. And to make things incredibly simpler, at the beginning, our inventory class is only going to have like one data item in it. Rather than chock full it, fill it up with data items. That's going to be stuff that we add on after we get kind of a skeleton going. So, let's do a menu function that displays all those choices. And make liberal use of cutting and pasting to make it go fast. Oh, and we need an exit, so -1 to exit. That'll be our quit. What is it called if you provide a special value that allows a loop to exit? Pardon me?
Is it sentinel value?
Yep, sentinel value. So -1 is going to be our sentinel value. So we need one final cout, which is -1 to quit. So we need a choice variable to hold what they type in, cin into choice, and return it. What am I doing? Alrighty, let's just do a good old while true menu, while true loop. We're going to display the menu. We need to get the choice out of it, so int choice is equal to menu. And then we're going to call a function called handle, where we handle the choice. But we're going to check to see if it's -1. If choice is equal to -1, break. Otherwise, we handle the choice. Now it's complaining because we don't have a handle function yet, obviously. Alrighty, kind of waggle your hand if you're done with this so that I can go to the next part. Got some waggling hands. Well, since handle choice isn't returning anything, I may as well declare it as void. And it takes an integer as its parameter. Now by rights this ought to be a big switch statement.
I forgot about switching to this one.
So let's switch based on the choice. If it's a 1, we want to list the inventory. That's just kind of a thing to let us know what we're planning on doing. Then we're going to break. Oh, I put the semicolon in the wrong place. Our default action is just going to be unimplemented choice. Yeah, I sure will. Okay. There. So what we're going to try to do is to break this up into several chunks. We have kind of a user interface loop here, so that's great. Then we're going to have a class that is our inventory manager. And you're going to be able to do things like inventory.list, inventory.load, inventory.save. Even if those methods don't do anything, we can flesh out what that class does. So we're going to make a class called inventory. And then we're probably just going to fill it all with inline functions.
So I mean, like, if one of us does start working for a company, are they really gonna frown upon inline functions? I mean,
Oh, you never know.
prefer-
Just find out.
I prefer inline. 'Cause
The-
like you said, I like seeing my code where I define it as.
Yeah, if there are Java programmers in there, they probably would like inline. If you're delivering code to be worked at another company and you're not actually providing the source code, you're just providing header files and DLLs and libs, then you don't want to do inline. Alright, so just kind of brainstorming. I think our inventory class is just going to have some methods: list, add, save, load, remove, and modify. We'll see how many of those we get to implement. Now, we haven't defined what the inventory is. That's all going to be encapsulated somewhere else. This main menu doesn't care what the inventory is. All it knows is it's going to be accessing an inventory manager. Alrighty. We about ready to go on to the next one. I'm going to try to at least, okay, I'm going to go over to here, add a new class. New class, I'm going to click add, choose inventory. I wonder if you could tell it not to make any CPP file.
If you make it inline, it doesn't. Click your inline, it won't make a CPP.
Okay, yeah, so choose inline when you make it, and that way it won't make the CPP. Okay, so we have a constructor and a destructor. Just push those out of the way. At this point, I don't know that anything actually needs to return anything, so I'm going to declare everything as void. And right now, they're just going to be what are known as stubs, empty functions that don't do anything. It doesn't look like they're going to accept any parameters either. So we're going to have a list, an add, a load, a save. Try to go in order. Oh, we haven't done enums. We ought to do enums. Take a break and do enums after a little bit. Load. Remove. Modify. That ought to be enough. I think we had 6 functions. There they are. And they're not doing anything right now. We could at least make them, see out what they were supposed to do. But that's just going to add additional clutter.
And extra stuff we have to do.
Pardon me?
And extra stuff we're doing.
Yeah. I guess see out, load. I put in a bunch of semicolons where they aren't required. Get rid of all the semicolons that we just added. These aren't prototypes. They don't need semicolons. Now I'm getting C out underlined, so I better go and add my includes. Include IO stream and string. I'm sure we're going to need files. Maybe not. We could put the things like load and save into their own utility class. We'll see how we feel about that. And using namespace std.
And I thought not using that was going to be really bad, but it's not really. I mean,
It doesn't.
Used to,
Right, you just type in std : and that's the correct thing to do.
oh, but for the IO stream, you don't have to do without using namespace. Why does it still recognize cout?
It shouldn't. You should have to type std : cout.
Oh no, sorry, that was my question. Is IO stream in the standard in that library? I guess then.
Right. Cout and cin are part of that library.
Oh, I see what you're doing
Alright, the only reason I squished it like that is just to get as much on the screen as possible. When we actually start putting functionality in, oh, I've made a mistake. List is supposed to say list, not load. Alright, we're going to have to define what an inventory item looks like. And although it's not really kosher, I think I'm just going to define it right in the same class, the header file, as this one. Later on we could move it to its own if we wanted to. So, what are we going to call it? Item? Yeah, let's go with item. And right now, all an item has is a name of an item. And I'm being a terrible programmer and not putting that in with a getter and a setter. We'll go back and fix that if we so feel like it. So inventory is going to need something that will let us keep track of all of these items, like an array. A vector would be better, but an array is simpler. So let's declare a public array of items. Item, items. Let's make room for 10 of them.
What is the array word actually, keyword, what does that actually do in C++?
Good question. See if we can find out. Why did it change from blue to black? As I
Deleted code.
Yeah, okay. So what I did is I highlighted it. I hit F1. Takes me to MSDN. The array keyword lets you create a dynamic array.
Allocated on common language runtime. Well,
I'm going to see some examples. Array, and then they give a type, and they use this funny little syntax, which I'm not aware of what it does, is equal to GC new array. I'd rather not.
it just looks crazy.
I'm going to veto that. Alrighty.
Okay.
And let's have a counter. I think we're going to wind up not providing a remove function. That's my guess. You can change its value to 0, you know, the number of items in the list to 0, but we're not going to allow them to remove it. So we just got to remember that remove is not going to work. How about saying can't remove? There we go. All right. Okay. And then we want to counter. That's how many items are in our in list.
Please purchase a DLC.
So int inum is equal to 0, and that 10 should actually be a constant. So const int imax, like an IMAX theater, is equal to 10. What you complaining about there? Error, a non-static reference must be relative to a specific object. Well, it was working a minute ago when I had a 10 there. Okay, whatever. There. Change it back to a 10 and We just have to kind of know that if we ever change that 10, we'd better change that one too. Well, that's odd.
Do it again.
What it says is a non-static member reference must be relative to a specific object. Non-static member reference.
What if you make that static?
Okay. Hey, that did it. So if you're going to make a const, make it static. Apparently that makes errors go away. So this is our list of inventory. Each item in the list contains one item, which right now is just a string. I guess we better go ahead and add a quantity as well. So go back to item and add a quantity. And let's default the quantity to 0 and default the string to unknown. And I'm sorry, my goal was to push this over here so that we had enough space so that you could still see the other stuff of code. But I wound up covering it. All right, add and list. Let's do those first. When they do add, we need to create a new object and then tack it onto the list, but we need to make sure that inum does not equal or exceed imax. So we're going to be adding to the add function here. No longer is it just going to say add. It's going to need to look like a proper function, so I'm spacing it out appropriately. Firstly, let's validate that there's still room in the array for it. If inum, the number of items in the list, is greater than or equal, hopefully it'll never be greater than, imax, then say list full, something like that. Cout list full.
So you don't have to do like the size of or anything for item,
I am sorry, pardon me.
you don't have to do like a size of or anything for
Well,
well,
see, the size of the array, we could use that to get the number of items. But since we defined a constant for the number of items, we may as well use that.
oh, never mind, sorry, I see what we're doing.
So we're just going to say list full and return if that's the case. Why don't we make sure that this whole shebang at least presents menu choices? So I'm going to go ahead and run it. All right, list, yay. Add, unimplemented. 3 unimplemented. 4. Yeah, because the only thing we actually implemented was list. I mean, which is bad because right now we're adding an add function and we're never calling it. We'll have to go back to our main code and modify it so that add also works. So over here in handle, where it says case 1 is list and then break, we don't have our inventory object yet. What I'm going to do is to declare it as a global. Not the best thing in the world, but it'll work. So inventory, we haven't done # include inventory, so go up to the top of source.cpp or whatever you called your main file, do include inventory, and let's make a global inventory. Inventory I and V. Probably ought to be enough. He doesn't like that.
Change your.
Oh, I
inventory
need quotes around inventory because that inventory.h file is actually in the same source directory as all of our CPP files. So that's what I added here. And
also, it's capital I.
Right, it's capital I here. The operating system seems to be okay with it being lowercase here, but to be accurate, Windows is less picky than Unix is in that respect.
True.
Okay, there we go. Those are the two things that we added. So, this menu thing is kind of in the way. I'm going to cut it and move it below the handle function, just so that handle is near the top. So if they choose one, which is list, we're going to call inventory.list. I'm going to copy that entire case and paste it so that I can make another one for add. Case 2, if they choose that, it's because we're adding, and we're going to call inventory.add. And so on. It'd be pretty easy to go back and implement case 3, case 4, case 5, you know, all of those cases. Why am I not doing it now? I just don't want to fluff the code up too much. So going back to inventory.h. If the list is not full,
create a new item.
we need to create a new item. And I want to check something. Nah, I'm not going to check something. Item it. It.quantity is equal to 1. It.name is equal to stuff. Alright, I've done something wrong. That's because these items are, these types are private. So go up to your item class and do public colon. Okay, now that we have a new item, we're going to add it to our list. Items at enum is equal to it, and an enum plus plus. And it sure would be nice if we could list it, but that'll be the next thing that we add. I'm wishing now we had a constructor for the item class, so that we could count, you know, we could watch the items pop into existence via a print statement. Go ahead and build that, y'all who have gotten this typed that far, and see, just make sure that we don't get any errors. Choose to add something. It's not going to let us type in anything, but
You said build a constructor for the inventory?
No, he's saying to go ahead and run it.
yeah, go ahead and run it.
Oh, okay.
So he's saying list full. What?
So add inventory. Mine didn't say it was full. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. List full. You said that right from the get-go?
Yeah.
All right, I'll be right there.
If I know.
Whenever I miss one, it just closes my paper. There it's-
Oh.
it goes to the return.
Never mind, I see what it did.
Okay.
Alright, I'll be right back.
should do is do a list now, just so that we can actually see what we're looking at.
So, I'm sorry, were we trying to get it to say list full?
I'm sorry, pardon me?
When we run the program, is it supposed to say list full when you press 1, or?
Yeah, if you do it more than 10 times.
Okay.
All right. So I think maybe we're ready to all add the list method.
Yep.
Let's come up here.
I'm still not getting mine to read out the list full thing.
All right, I'll come look. What this is just going to be is a for loop that runs through the array, prints out each item in the array.
So, yeah, I have that, but I just want to
All right, break it. I mean, not break it. Exit the program. Go back in. Where's add?
Hey,
Oh, wait.
oh, I see what I did.
Yeah, you put all that as list.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe put it in add.
Let's see.
Yeah, everything from that div all the way down.
Here.
Yeah. So you already have an add.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, while we're doing this, see out like enum space add, something like that, stick enum before or after that add, just so that we can see where that counter is. Perhaps. There, now it's running again, we'll at least watch that counter. Yeah. Alright, so let's do some adds. See, 1 isn't doing anything, the list function is empty, so start doing some 2s. Okay, see what's adding. Go back and look at your handle function. Source.cpp. Okay, so for list, okay, do we have an inventory object yet? Did you create an inventory object at the top?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one needs to call inventory.list or inv.list or whatever we call it. inv.list. C's in parentheses. And then add is going to be inv.add.
The same thing.
Right.
Okay.
And pretty much the same thing all the way down. Yeah. Let's go ahead and run it one more time. All right, list still doesn't do anything. It's still an empty function. Let's try adding to it. One add, okay? Do it again. 2 add, 3 add, 4 add. Point this shit all the way up to 10, and then tell us list full. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Are we all good? Okay, that's because these are private items. Stuff in a class are by default private unless we declare them. Java ranks. Do we have prefix that cout with std ::?
I tried to do it. Didn't go away. So I don't know, cause the rest of them are working fine. It's honestly what I'm trying to print out. Cause like, watch, if I change that.
But
to-
it doesn't know how to print out that item.
If I change.
Right, that's going to work, but it does not know how to handle sending an item to the stream. Does that make sense? Because this item has two pieces, it doesn't know how to print it out.
Oh,
In Java, we would add a toString method. And this, I haven't done this before, so this is going to be a little bit interesting, but I want to go and find out how to make a class handle like that. That's probably not going to work. Okay, operator, arrow, arrow. Whenever you hit MSDN,
okay. So since our list is full of user-created data types, that's why it doesn't.
it has no idea how to print it.
Okay, gotcha. As I say, 'cause
Okay, I'm going to hope this works. I'm going back to the inventory project. What I want to do is I need to modify the item class so that it handles the arrow arrow operator, the stream insertion operator. And this may be how we do it.
Remember, we had that problem the last time too. We couldn't get it to take more than that parameter.
Okay. Let's see if we can get that work. So our syntax was OStream reference operator arrow arrow OString reference OS. And so just for now, do this. I am an item. And then return OString. And then down here for list, let's try to print the list. For every item I that's in the items, see out that item followed by ENDL. No operator matches these operands. Operand types are standard OStream.
I think it was just easier if we just made a print method because this doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna punt. I can't get that to work. I'm gonna delete those lines. I don't want to spend a lot of time researching it. So instead, we're gonna add a print method. So void print, and it just couts I am an item. And then down here in our for loop, we're just going to call I.print. This is Jeff.
Okay. 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 Well, I appreciate you letting me know.
Alrighty. Alright. I'm going to run that to see if it works. List inventory, there are no items. Oh, there are 10 items.
Yeah, mine did that too.
Okay, the reason why is we should not be using a for each loop like that when we have a counter indicating how many items there are.
So
Just make it a dynamic array?
No, but we have this iNum counter. So instead, we're going to modify our for loop to look like this. For int I is going to be our iterator now, not the actual value, is equal to 0, I is less than inum, I plus plus, and yeah, doing a dynamic array, a vector would be the ideal choice. And then let's do cout, nope,
item
items subscript I
print.
dot print.
Yeah.
So it doesn't list anything. Now I add something, I list it, there's an item in it. I choose 2, and then I list again, it says 2 items. I choose 2 again and list it, there's 3 items. I'm going to add a whole bunch of items. Alright, it's got 10. Well, that's all well and good. We actually need to get the information, you know, and let them fill it out.
So we need a constructor for our item class.
Constructor would be cool. How about we just tack on to item?
So it doesn't tell you it's full if you try to break it. If you keep going past 10, it just stops at 10.
Okay. So, if I keep adding past 10, I'm getting a list full message. That's what I wanted to see.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, so why don't we add a method to item that asks for the information to fill it? Add or get info. It really is, could be done as a form of constructor,
This way's fine.
but so let's ask them for the quantity. And let's ask for, should have called it description rather than name. But anyways, the name of the item. And see that into name.
Oh, okay.
And we need to modify cout to not just say I am an item, to actually printing out the quantity and the name. That's going to be ugly because we're not using set width or anything to make it look nicely formatted. But quantity, so I'm going back up to the print function and changing our cout to be quantity followed by a space or a tab even, nah, just a space. If we want to fix it, we'll use set width, followed by the name of the item, followed by ENDL. Now I'm almost wishing item was in its own class so that I could get them side by side. But for the add function, it's no longer going to just look like that, where item quantity is 1, item name is stuff. Instead, take those two lines out. Item quantity is equal to 1, item name dot stuff. Remove those two lines and change it to item dot get info. So that's, I'm going to tack this down here at the bottom in a comment. That looks real lousy. Okay.
Wait, was that in the main?
No, this is in the inventory class. I'm just pasting it over in main so that I can get that and get info in on the same
That's where you're putting it.
page. Yeah. So the add function is part of the inventory class. So that's what our item class should look like. Really am just about ready to move that into its own class. I think it's time to do that. Cut the entire item class, or at least copy it. We're going to need to move it into its own .h file. In fact, copy everything all the way up to the beginning of the file, like that. Don't cut it all, but at least copy everything from pragma once down to the semicolon. Then go and make a new class. Right click, add class, make it an inline class. So when you click add, choose inline and call it item, capital I. Oh, don't play me like that. All right,
Can you just pull it
go
out?
ahead and cut that item class. Cut it so it's no longer in there. Now and save that file. Control S it to save it, and then do add class. Call it item, capital I, inline, finish. Paste this in there, but we have a couple of extra lines that we have to add. All the necessary includes. Include IO stream, include string. I know we're going to need F stream. Maybe not, but can't hurt. And then using namespace std.
This is dumb. I have include IO stream in mind, however, it's not.
Now, over in inventory.h, you're going to have to add an include for item. Because now, if you go back and look at inventory.h, item is underlined. So along with all the other pound sign includes, go back to inventory.h and include item, quote, item, end quote, item.h. So I know y'all can't see the itty bitty file names up here, but inventory is this rightmost panel. item is this middle panel, and the left one is source.cpp, which you can't see.
You got rid of the constructor and destructor.
I'm so sorry, pardon me.
You got rid of the constructor and destructor on the item class.
I guess I did.
I mean,
I deleted it. That's okay. It's actually okay unless we actually need to provide them, you know. So,
I mean, it's not like we can rewrite it. I was just wondering.
yeah, we can rewrite them. I just I just blasted over them. I wasn't even paying attention. All right, if you've gotten this far, it might actually run. I want to make sure everybody gets this far before I blaze onward. So add an item. I'm going to add
Oh, what?
100 widgets. I'm going to list the inventory, 100 widgets. I'm going to add a new item, 200 boxes. I'm going to add a third item, 5,000 spinners. It's only expecting one word. We didn't use get line, so our item name can only be one word long. All right, now I'm going to list them. 100 widgets, 200 boxes, 500 spinners. Okay, so I'm pretty impressed with that.
Why did it? Whoa, whoa, whoa. You put in 500 spinners on the same line.
Right, and so it called C out, and the first thing went into the first input, and the second thing went into the second input.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I remember now. Save and remove and mod. Oh, we're not going to remove anymore. Modify.
New remove, we could make like new inventory list, something like that.
We call it wipe
Wipe, yeah,
instead of remove.
memory wipe, something like that. Okay, so loading. What is loading going to require? It's going to need the ability to open a file. So we're going to have to pass in a file name and to use IO stuff to get that array or to load the array.
If string? If string and file name.
Trying to think of a way to logically organize it. We could put it all inside of the inventory program. I'm kind of hoping that we can put some of this stuff in item itself, because at this point we could change the item class. We could add a third attribute, you know, like a color, and we wouldn't even have to change inventory.h because all of that is being handled inside item.h. Not seeing how to do that. Let's take a stab at it.
Oh, wait. Are you saying just put the load function in, or method in item?
Yeah, something that'll at least read one item in.
Okay.
Let's try that. Let's add a read item. I'm going to make it a bool just on the off chance that we may return a false at some certain point. Let's call it read item. Wait, we better be saving this stuff first. So save item. And we better pass in the IO stream. That we want to save it to.
Are we outputting it to a file?
Yeah. So we could just make it an F stream, a OF stream, and call it out, OF stream out. And we may as well make it a reference. Easier to pass things in. I don't know what yeah. Okay. So let's just write out the quantity, followed by an ENDL. Now it'd be more cool to write the name out first, in my opinion.
Don't use a file.
We'll get there.
Okay.
So let's write out the name, except we're not using cout. I'm sorry. We're passing in and out an OF stream, so let's just use out right there and out right there. while we're at it, we may as well, okay, I'm just going to return true on the, we're not adding any error handling at this point. That'll probably blow up in our faces, but that's okay. And then bool, let's do another one. Load item, which takes an IF stream, ampersand IN. That's not right. I've used the arrow going the wrong way. And we're going to read in the variables. And it'd be cooler to use getLine. What am I doing there? We don't use ENDL when reading data in. It'd be cooler to use getLine so that, you know, the item description could be more than one word. And then we're going to read in the quantity. And while we're here, while we're mucking around in this stuff, let's go ahead and add a third attribute. Let's add color. So go back up and add another string, which is color. Initialize it unknown. But once you have that member, that attribute, add something to getInfo that'll ask for the color and store it. So cout, I went to getInfo, ask for the color, and then read it in. And we need to add,
Which one is getInfo in? Is it
getInfo is in item. So far all of these changes have been in item. Yep, so everything we've done so far is in item in this particular run. What I did is I added an attribute called color to the item class. For getInfo, I asked the question with cout what color, and then I use cin to read into color. Now save item needs to not only cout needs to not only write out the name and the quantity, but it's going to write out the color as well. And load item is going to read in the color as well. I hope you see the logic in the way this is being organized, in as much as by putting all of these methods in the item class, inventory doesn't hardly have to know anything about the items. It doesn't have to ask for the items, you know. It doesn't have to know how many attributes an item has. All of that stuff is being handled in the item class itself, so we can make changes to the item class without having to change inventory. Of course, we're going to have to change inventory to at least have, you know, call the load and the save functions. And we'll do that next.
I'm sorry, my ins and my outs are giving me errors for that.
Okay. Do you have fstream included up at the top?
That's what I mean.
So go to the very top of item.h, and one of your includes should be fstream.
What do we make these bulls for again?
I had the great idea that like if we hit the end of the file or something, we'd return false or something, but I'm just returning true out of them. So yeah, load item also needs to return true at this point. The reason I made them bool is so that we could try to add some layer of error, you know, handling, so that if we weren't able to load an item, we'd, you know, return a false and we could check that. But I'm not adding that error handling, so I'm just returning true. Okay, so if we go back to the item class, first we need to add handlers. If you have not already done this, we need to add the choices to our handlers for loading and saving. So go back to handle, the big switch case statement, and so case 3, if they choose 3, that's a save. And then call inventory dot
Nope, it's in the item class.
save.
I thought we put it
Well, it is, but the item class is then going to call the save function. Excuse me, inventory is going to call save inside item.
Okay.
And then break. And we may as well do 4 at the same time. So I'm still in the handle function. Cout loading, because we're loading data. Inventory.load. And break. That didn't work. I typed int.load. inv.load. That's not going to link because, well, yeah, I guess it is. I guess we're just going to hard code the file name at this point. So after you've added case 3 and 4, which call save and load to your handle class, switch back to inventory. We're going to write some code that does that. Okay, let's do save first. I'm going to space save out a little bit so we have room. Cout. Nope, there's nothing to see out. We need to open the file. OF stream file out, I guess, and then dot open a file name. I'm just going to call it inv.txt, short for inventory.txt. Should I be hard coding that? No, not at all. How do we check to see if that's open? If out dot fail. Is that a function or an attribute? Do I have to do that?
Yeah, that's a function.
Okay, so if it failed, we're going to write out an error message. Could not open file. And we're going to return. Otherwise, we're going to go through our loop. This is going to be another for loop, just like our list was. For int I is equal to 0, I is less than inum, I++.
Well, in this case, couldn't we do the range base since we're not overloading anything?
Well, we could do all 10 of them, but why don't we just save out the ones that that we know we have good data for.
Oh, never mind, I see what you're saying.
And so once we have that item, items at subscript I dot save item, and we're going to pass in our file handle out. And then let's close. Out.close.
Okay, so,
I'm going to run it real quick, make sure I haven't messed this all up. 2, I want 10 spinners that are red. Add one more. I'm going to want 20 shoes that are blue. Let's list them. Let's save them to disk. Be nice if it said saved. It didn't. Now, it's just because we didn't tell it to. inv.txt. Open it up. Okay, there's spinners and 10 in red.
How do we get our print function in our color?
you just have to go back and add, print color to, or add your color to.
Yeah, here's what
Okay.
the item function, the item class got changed to support color. We added a new method, new attribute called color. Inside get info, we ask for the color and we store it. And inside print, oh, what do you know? I forgot to print the color. So between quantity and the name, I'm going to print the color out. So it'll say 10 red shoes or whatever, you know. So we just had to change print to support the color type. Okay, so here's the save function, if you need it. Here is save item, if you need that. And I'll walk around and make sure everybody's doing okay.
Since we,
How do we know that we're at the end of the list? I don't know how we're going to know. Tell you what, rather than provide a hacky solution, let's just go and hope that this works.
isn't there like a while, I think it's while if stream or something like that, and then it checks it
Yeah,
until you get to the end of it?
yeah, we're going to have to depend on that and hope that it works. Okay, so load, going to look like this. The reason I'm wondering is because all of our previous programs just read one item per line rather than clusters, as far as I recall. Dum,
Oh,
dum,
yeah.
dum, 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 dum. All right, so I'm going to load inside of inventory.h. Oh, and while I'm here, I'm going to make the save function see out that it's saved. Saved to file. env.txt. Good enough. Alrighty, so we need an IF stream, and I'm going to call it IN. IN.open. Same thing. INV.txt. Should be a variable. We can make that a member of the class, you know, so that each, maybe we'll do that towards the end. All right, if it failed, if in.fail, we're going to print an error message. Cout could not open file, and then return. Otherwise, we need that while.
I'm trying to remember the exact syntax.
Yeah. Reading from if stream while loop. fin.eof is one way of doing it, apparently. myfile.good. Let's just give that a shot.
But we didn't open the file yet.
Yeah, we did, right there.
Oh, I missed it, sorry.
Okay, so while parentheses in.good, we need to get an item, we need to read it in. So item, new item. Oh, this is bad. We need to completely blow away that array and create a new array is what we need to do. So, very first thing load needs to do, although we could wait until we actually get the file open. So let's do it here. Before that while loop, items I'm spacing. Let's just set inum equal to 0 again. right. It's not going to change it, but this will. While in.good, items at inum dot load item from that IO stream, and then increase inum by 1. There's half a chance this is actually going to work. And then in.close. And then I'm going to print out a message, inventory loaded.
This one thing is I don't see where you're. Oh, never mind.
I didn't
See?
wipe out the array. We're reusing the
override.
items that are already in it, exactly, which is not too cool, but it works, you know.
We'd have to add another choice. Which inventory list would you like to load from?
Yeah,
And then,
I did that to avoid allocating a new inventory list. How would we do that? Allocate a new array in C++.
the same file there.
dynamic memory allocation.
See, that one's a pointer. I don't want to do that. I don't want to mess with pointers. We're going to stick with reusing the same array over and over and over. Is it cool? No, it's not cool. And I'm sorry, you asked a question, and
No.
I was spacing out. Okay, I want to see if this works. I'm not at all confident it will. I already have an inventory file out there, I believe.
Yeah.
So if I go out to inventory.txt, here it is. It's got 10 red spinners and 20 blue shoes. Don't you step on my blue suede shoes. Alrighty, so I'm going to load these. And then I'm going to try listing them. And lo and behold, by some miracle it worked, but we have unknown unknown. That means that inum is one higher than it should have ought to be. We would have to debug to figure out why.
Well, let's find out.
So I'm going to set a breakpoint here at inum is equal to 0. I quit the program. You know, I'm running it again. I set a breakpoint by clicking in the margin. I do local Windows debugger. I'm going to load from disk. It stopped here. And now I'm going to start clicking this little thing that says step over, F10. While it's good, load the item. Now I know that one's good. I know the first item is good, so I'm not going to step into it. And then add one to inum. It's still good. Load the second item, add one to inum. Now we have 2 items. Here's the one that gets to be questionable. Does it still think it's good? It does. That's a problem. So here's where we're probably going to wind up doing our Boolean check. Another one of these stands for step into, so I can see what that load item function does. Now I'm over here. You see the arrow? Okay. So step over that. What kind of information is it positively pulling? Oh, it's unknown. But there's no data left. This is why I was fiddling with in my mind the idea of an end of file marker. You know, to get around this, you could write out the number of items up at the top of the file, or you could have a record that means end of file. Or it could, when we get it back, we could just check to see if the value is unknown, you know, and then not increment. Okay. Not getting how to fix this yet. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop that by clicking the red box up here. we're going to zero out these values. Name is equal to blah blah. Quantity is equal to blah blah. Color is equal to blah blah. Then we're going to read that stuff. And if name is still equal to blah blah, if it's equal to empty, then we're going to return false, because it means that it failed. So I just added these lines. Over here I'm going to do bool result equals items. Okay, bool result, this is over in the load function, result equals items dot load, and if result equals true, then add 1 to inum num, else break.
Is there supposed to be, on your if statement and on your load item, is there supposed to be a space in between the if name equals?
You don't, the spaces are optional, I can do that.
No, I mean, in between the quotation marks. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, never mind.
You're right, this needs to match that. If I had a space there,
Yeah,
I would need to match a space there, which is not a bad idea.
I was doing that.
Make that a space, but the quantity actually has to be a number. -1, okay. So let's see. See, we should have a new constructor or something that sets all of those values. I'm going to go back to empty strings. All right. Load from disk. I'm just going to start it running again if I can find a way to do that. The first time is okay. The second time is okay. The third time we go into it. So I'm going to do step into. Now we're over here. Bless you. Name has been wiped out. It's a bit much. I wasn't expecting to see all this. All right, that was a failed experiment. It's not liking, I'm going to undo that, redo it. It's not liking when I set the name equal to a space for some reason. For load to disk. But look, I didn't get an error message or a break when I did that, when I removed the disk point. Okay, that actually fixed it. I don't know why we went off in a la-la land while we were debugging it. I'll be right there. But that did fix it. Here's the change that I made to the load function. That's our load loop right here inside inventory.h. I'm checking to see if the result of load item is actually good. How am I doing that? I am filling up the item with garbage data, not really garbage data, but some kind of default data, just an empty space and a -1 and then that. And then I'm reading it in. And then I'm checking, oh yeah, did we really get any data? Does the name have something else other than an empty string? The only way the name would wind up being an empty string is if it failed, if it was at the end of the file. And if that's the case, we return false, else we return true. All right, I'll come back.